Welcome to the Schuh Show. I'm Grant Cohn. That's Rob Schuh. The Niners play in Cincinnati tomorrow. I'm in Cincinnati. I'm in their team hotel. They're interspersed throughout the. I'm watching though. I'm watching
because I'm behind the scenes eyes, Grant.
I keep getting like. There's a ton of 49ers. It's like they stormed. It's a castle and they stormed it, and they're in control. And you get in an elevator and like there's probably someone coming. I haven't gotten in with a player yet, but it's always like an assistant coach. And they look at me and they're like,
I know you,
but I don't. Anyway, very interesting game. A lot at stake.
Yes.
Let's go through it bit by bit and break it down.
Let's do it, Grant.
Let's start in the trenches because that's where games are won and lost, Rob.
That is exactly where the games are won and lost, in the trenches. That's where you need the classical music of NFL films to watch big men collide. Yeah, when you go through this on both sides of the ball, I think there are some key matchups that will determine the fate of this game. So you want to start on 49ers defense, Bengals offense? That sound good to you, Grant?
Sounds good to me.
Fantastic. To me, the setup is Bosa versus everyone else, right? The 49ers have rotated Bosa around creatively so far this season in an attempt to get the best matchups available for Bosa to continue his dominance. So it looks like he could be lined up over left tackle Jonah Williams, right tackle Riley Reif, or even on the interior, as I've learned, the weakest link on their line is that right guard position with Hakeem Adenine. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that entirely correctly, but it would seem like Bosa could be all over the place, mainly on that right side of the Cincinnati line in an attempt to take advantage of the weaker matchups.
Well,
What's your feeling on
wherever Bosa lines up is a matchup advantage for the 49ers, right?
100%.
Right.
What is your feeling on that matchup, and will Bosa be able to take advantage of Cincinnati?
Yeah, I mean, the way I look with Bosa is that when he's healthy, which is this season,
yep.
I mean, he's good for a sack a game.
Yes.
He's relentless, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's coming. It's like the tide. It's coming.
Yes.
But he can't take over a game by himself. No. Like, he needs help. And if no one else is producing, then you can double team him, and you can make him work very, very hard, and you can move the ball. So I have no questions about Nick Bosa. He's gonna have the advantage over anyone he faces this week, any week. Is someone else going to show up to the party? Last week it was DJ Jones. He's having a terrific year, but how about Eric Armstead? Eric, what do you say? I'm sorry. Like everyone always goes to bat for Eric Armstead and stuff, but they're paying him to be like basically DeForest Buckner light, and he's not. He's just Eric Armstead.
Yes.
And it would be nice if you could be DeForest Buckner light, like. A sack this week would be great because Bosa's going to get one.
You know he is, and he's going to bring pressure from one side of the line and force Burrow out of the pocket. I mean, Burrow is a mobile quarterback. He is coming off of a major knee injury, and I heard from inside sources early in the year that was really apparent, that it was very much like Jimmy Garoppolo, where he didn't trust his knee, he wasn't moving quite as well, but that seems to be evolving. And so if you're only bringing the pressure from the one side, is Burrow able to escape the pocket, extend the play, and take a deep shot to one of those talented wide receivers that he's got on the edge?
Yeah. So what you've seen with really prepared teams against the Niners is when you know that you just chip, you just double team Bosa.
Right.
You hit him hard with a tight end, and he doesn't always see it. He gets knocked to the inside. It gives you splits. This matchup we're going to talk about in a minute is Bengals have some serious weapons at receiver. They got two guys on the outside, and their running back's a really good receiver too.
Yes, he is. I think you're spot on in that what we're going to get from Bosa out of this one. I would expect something in the neighborhood of 3 quarterback pressures, a hit or two, and probably a sack in this one. But if we don't get that complimentary sack from a random like a Jordan Willis or an Arden Key or Eric Armstead or Samson Ebukam or Charlie Omenihu, we need someone to step up on the other side. And yes, I'm using we over and over and over again. Okay. I know how much you love that.
I know you can do it. I love it.
Yes.
I just want.
I have spent enough money on the 49ers franchise to feel like I earned the right to say we.
I say it about UCLA, and every time I do, I feel dirty about it, but I do it. So it's okay. I'm a hypocrite.
You supported that program with your hard-earned dollars.
But what I want to say real quick is you said like someone needs to step up. I feel you, dude. Someone. But Eric Armstead, they're paying you to be the guy.
They are.
You're not just one of the guys, dude. They're paying
he's not
you
a
to
no-name.
be 1B here. But the guy who's 1B right now is DJ Jones, and I think he's going to show up because he's in a contract year and he has something to prove. DJ Jones, I have no question. He's coming through.
DJ Jones. Big Dave's barbecue sauce. That's his dad's barbecue sauce. Part of the proceeds go to charity. I love throwing it up in the autofocus.
That's dope. Loved it.
Yes, indeed. All right. So let's flip to the other side of the ball and talk about the trenches on that side with the 49ers offensive line against the Bengals defensive line. This one, the first matchup, Trent Williams versus Trey Hendrickson. If they keep Trey Hendrickson on the right side of the defensive line, the left side of the Niners line, that's like strength against strength, right? I mean, Trey Hendrickson is having a phenomenal year. They brought him in as a free agent. He was previously with New Orleans. He has had a great career. He is at 10.5 sacks on the year right now. I think he's had 1 sack in each of the last 7 or 8 consecutive games. And that appears to be 49ers strength, potentially the best left tackle in the league. You know, I could make a serious case for that versus Trey Hendrickson, certainly the most capable pass rusher on the Bengals defense. You think Trent Williams has the edge there?
Yes. I'm sorry. Yes. I've seen Trey Hendrickson before. He's all right. I mean, I know he has good numbers, but yes. See, here's my thing with Trey Hendrickson and the Bengals. I know there's some stat that like he always lines up in the same spot and rushes. Hey, if the Bengals have any sense at all, they will find a way to get Hendricks on the other side just 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
If they can't do that, what are you paying these coaches for? You have Tom Compton, maybe the worst offensive tackle in the league, maybe the best offense. You really can't do that. He can only I'm sure he lined up on the other side in New Orleans. Come on. So yeah, Trent Williams will handle him, but Tom Compton won't. He won't.
No. So, I mean, that really is the juxtaposition of literally the best left tackle in the league and literally the worst right tackle in the league. If you can't jump all over that as a mismatch, then what really are you doing?
Stay home. Exactly. Yeah. What's the point of game planning and practice? You have a week to get him prepared to do 4 snaps from the right side against Tom Compton. It's not like he's going against someone good like Mike McGlinchey. Sorry, I couldn't. Someone good like,
way to keep the straight face, Grant.
Yeah, sorry. But it's not that. Come on, man. I mean, Carlos Dunlap looked good enough. Anyway.
Yeah. So that sets up the third matchup, right? Which is Tom Compton versus the other guys, which is Tom Compton versus Sam Hubbard. If they do stick with Hendrickson maintaining the right side of their line, and Sam Hubbard's not a slouch so far this year. He's an actual bookend. He's what the 49ers are missing opposite of Bosa. He's got 7.5 sacks on the year. If the Niners had somebody with 7.5 sacks, I think we would be better than a 500 team.
See, he will wear out Tom Compton. They may not even have to move Hendrickson over because Hubbard can do his thing. Really.
He's going to make strength on one side and then allow Sam Hubbard to maximize Tom Compton on the other.
Tom Compton's going to make Sam Hubbard look like Nick Bosa.
Do you anticipate, is the way in which you try and minimize the effect is running straight at him? I mean, clearly Tom Compton is a far better run blocker than pass blocker.
Of course you want to run. That's why they were winning with him at right tackle, running the ball 40 times. As soon as it was a 2-to-1 ratio in favor of running. Once it's down to 1-to-1, the Tom Compton effect is in play. So really, yes, we're on the same page. The Niners have to minimize the Tom Compton effect. Last week, in my opinion, he lost the game.
Yes.
Everyone's telling me it was the right call. Sherfield was open. It was the right read. The only person, Tom Compton got walked back, and Carlos Dunlap ended up like a yard away or a couple yards away and just swatted that pass down. To me, like you have to now, since that just happened, you have to go through extreme measures. If you're in a situation like that again, where the game's on the line, you're at the goal line, throw left. Go to the left. You can't trust Tom Compton. Anytime there's a critical, got to have it third down, play in the red zone, whatever, it's got to be a throw to the left. You can't trust this guy to give you a passing lane.
No. Kyle has to realize that mismatch exists and handicap around it, right? He's creative enough to do that, but it needs to be in the forefront of his mind.
He's had all week to figure it out. Yes, please. And you saw how it ruined you at the goal line. It did.
It did. It did.
Don't let so the key point here is don't let Tom Compton lose the game for you again.
No, get creative and make him a strength. Get into the run game and allow him to do what he does better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when Debo was healthy, before he went down, most of his long runs were coming around the right side. So, sure, Compton.
Get it going again.
Compton. All right, what's next? Let's talk about the secondary.
This is a topic I could skip if we wanted to, just because it makes me so afraid. But
to me, this is the crux of the deal right here.
Yes,
Sir Levin says we're going to lose by 40 to the Bengals. Who's going to stop the Bengals wide receivers? Yes, this is my question. A lot of people are previewing this game. You're talking about, well, the Niners aren't going to have Elijah Mitchell. True. They may, Debo, even if he plays, won't be 100%.
Right.
True. But to me, the biggest loss of the 49ers for this game is Emmanuel Moseley. And it's not that he's so much better than the other guys. It's just that the drop-off from Moseley, who's to me their best corner by far.
He's very dependable.
Dante Johnson may not even play. He's got a personal thing going on.
Personal issue.
So the drop-off from him to Diamador Lenore, Diamador Lenore couldn't make it through a quarter against Seattle. And then if it's not him, it's Ambry Thomas. If Dante Johnson isn't the security blanket, what's going to happen here? And they're going to get tested. So this to me is a critical issue in this game. Who is going to cover not just freaking Jamar Chase, but T. Higgins too?
It's a nightmare matchup for the San Francisco 49ers. And Diamador Lenore only lasted the time that he did because it took Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll a moment to realize he was on the field and start targeting him. As soon as they did, it was just reception after reception after reception to DK, and then they had to pull him.
Yes. So here's what I saw. When they put him in the game, D'Amico Ryans, God bless him, he's doing a great job, didn't make an adjustment. And when I saw, remember the touchdown that Diamador gave up? Yes. It was the long one to DK Metcalf, just up the sideline. Well, the coverage was man-to-man, cover one. In the middle of the field was Jaquiski Tart. And Diamador Lenore was playing bump and run man-to-man coverage against DK at the 25. Really.
That's honestly, a tall task.
That's tough. And to me, teams do this all the time, but if Russell Wilson gets to the line of scrimmage and sees that, it doesn't matter what the play call is. You just give some type of 9 alert, whatever route you were running, it's now a go route. 9 alert. Because, are you kidding?
Yeah.
Are you kidding? So, D'Amico, don't do that. That touchdown was as much on D'Amico calling it an unreasonable coverage for his personnel. What you got to do is give all the safety help to this corner, all of it, every time.
Yes. What do you make of the Ambry Thomas pump up that occurred this week, right? This is the first time that we've heard in pressers Kyle Shanahan talking about Ambry Thomas. And he specifically went into the idea that, Ambry wasn't dressing because he wasn't playing well enough on special teams to contribute. And if you're going to be the third or fourth cornerback, you have to be able to contribute as a gunner on special teams. Now he's contributing on special teams. He's fired up. He made 3 key tackles in that Seattle game. He was probably the only solid special teamer out there during the Seattle game, but that earned him the right to dress on game days. And now Shanahan goes one step further and says, yes, he's playing better, playing well enough to push the starters.
Oh my God.
Is that just hype?
I don't know.
Are we going to see some Ambry Thomas?
It sounds like we're going to see some Ambry Thomas, doesn't it? It sounds like we're going to see some Ambry Thomas.
And why not?
Right, because it's not like Diamador Lenore showing you anything.
Yeah, what do you have to lose?
And I look at it just from a physical matchup standpoint. Diamador Lenore was a 5th-round pick for a reason. 5'10", if that, 4.5 speed. Not a premium athlete.
Right,
and now
doesn't
you're
have
going against Jamar Chase, who's 6 feet, runs a 4.3.
Physical attributes.
He can just run right by you. He can just run right by you. And then T. Higgins is 6'4".
Yes.
So what Ambry Thomas had, he's 6 feet tall. He runs a 4.3. He at least theoretically can match up physically. But if you're at the Ambry Thomas level, you might not even win this game if Debo plays. Ambry Thomas has the attributes, but when we've seen him in games, he hasn't looked like a particularly confident player.
No.
And confidence is kind of important for cornerbacks.
Beyond that, I haven't even heard of the 2 practice squad players that they are potentially going to call one up of Savion
Is Ryan
Smith
Allen one of them?
Or Luck Barku. Who's
This could
Luck
be
Barku?
the Ryan Allen game. this could be the Brian Allen game. Like last year against Miami when they had a practice squad guy starting at corner. It's hard to win the NFL. Teams are relentless. They will go after do you understand how many times Ambry Thomas is going to get targeted if he starts? Do you understand?
Oh, goodness gracious. To me, the key to this matchup of the wide receivers, that three-headed monster of just very talented wide receivers, and Joe Burrow, very capable of getting the ball out to him, is less about the quarterback and the wide receivers and far more about the quarterback, the offensive line, and the Niners' defensive line getting pressure. They can't allow time for Burrow to complete the passes.
Yeah, agree. And they got to give all the, again, like say Josh Norman, you're Deion Sanders this week. No safety help. Zero coverage for you. Play inside leverage. Don't get beat to the inside. But we're shading coverage to whoever's playing. Earn your money, dude. We need you.
Yes, we need you.
Sirs 11 says Eric Ford, Jimmy for Buckner back. Wishful thinking. Yeah. Hold on. We got a good one. Hold on. One more.
That is very wishful thinking. I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Russell Wilson, the quarterback for the Seahawks, says, hey, yo, Grant Cohn, shut your Quagmire from Family Guy looking ass up. You're a fucking journalist for a team full of losers like the fan base. That's hella funny. Thank you, Russell. Shut your Quagmire from Family Guy looking ass up. That's hella funny. Do I look like Quagmire?
Very Quagmire. Angry. No, I don't see the resemblance, but.
That was hella funny. Yo, when I was in middle school, we used to say that. Shut your looking ass. Yeah. Quagmire from Family. That's hella funny. All right, let's talk offense. Creativity in the run game. They're going to have to be creative because
no
Elijah Mitchell, no Trey Sermon, and we don't know about Debo.
Yeah, and we certainly don't know about Brian Hill and what he's going to bring to the backfield. It is, how much usage can Debo get? I would think that a bigger priority is making sure that you do not re-injure Debo Samuel. If you re-injure Debo Samuel in this game, whether it's a win or a loss, it automatically becomes a huge loss. It would feel like the Jets game last year where, sure, you won it, but you really lost the season in that game. If they lose Debo to re-injury, that would be a nightmare scenario for the 49ers. That offense seems to be incapable of being consistent without him.
Yeah. So what's crazy about this is like, even with Elijah Mitchell, he hasn't really been doing that great. I mean, what he's been doing is running a lot and allowing the 49ers to not pass. But he's averaging like 3 yards a carry the last few games. I mean, and the guys after him are averaging 2. I really feel like it's not even their fault. I mean, it's just we've talked so much about Jimmy's limitations, and the quarterback's limitations are always the offense's limitations. So with Jimmy, he's very good at certain things. Third down, money. But we all know where he throws and where he doesn't throw. And so the field is very compressed, and he still hits those third down throws despite all that, and it's really amazing.
A lot of precision.
Yes, but still the defense is crowding around, and like what's a symptom of that? I mean, it's hard to run the ball. There's not a lot of space. Not a lot of space. And so what you're getting is guys running into a brick wall except for Debo, who's superhuman right now.
Right, because of the creativity of the plays in which he's involved, which just doesn't exist for the other players. And when you talk about Jeff Wilson Jr., who you think would get the bulk of the carries, you wonder if his knee is going to hold up. He spent the vast majority of the game in Seattle on the sidelines trying to stretch it out. He did practice this week, but is he up to the task of 25 carries this week? That seems like a big ask for somebody coming off of a knee injury.
19 against Jacksonville a few weeks ago. Here's the way I look at the Jimmy offense. To me, it has its merits, but it's like basically being in the red zone all the time, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Everyone's playing close up.
Yeah.
There's less of the field to defend.
And you're not going beyond 20 yards, and everyone's sort of in this compact area, and the fact that Jimmy can sort of operate like that is amazing. Maybe that's a little overstated, but it's what makes him who he is. But the downside of that is in the red zone, especially if the quarterback isn't involved in the run game, it's 10 on 11. Man, it's hard to run the ball.
Very hard.
Really hard. Those safeties are just all over that guy immediately. And that's why you see a lot of wildcat in the red zone, because it's so hard to run the ball with a compressed field. Get to 11 on 11 football. And that's why this week, I know it's not going to happen, but I think it would be really cool in a game that the Niners may not have Debo and are, it's an AFC game they don't need.
Right.
Dust off that game plan you had for the Raiders preseason game. Switch off quarterbacks. They're both handing off. But just now it's him handing off. Now it's him handing off. Like, why the hell not who would it upset. They're handing off. Just see what it does, because I think the defense would react differently. It might open up a run game. That's your creativity right there. And you did it against the Raiders. And I know it's not what you wanted to do all season, but you've practiced it for a rainy day, for a day that you may not have Debo or Elijah Mitchell. I'm just saying, it's in the back pocket. What do you say?
It is. And they have to do something. It has to be some creative element. I don't see that creativity coming from Jeff Wilson Jr. or from JaMychal Hasty. They are much more your standard running back that are going to be the guys getting 3.5 yards of carry, plowing into the center of the defense. I can't imagine that Brian Hill is getting up to speed this week enough to contribute. I mean, the guy only has 1,300 yards over a 4-year career anyway. But any of the other journeyman running backs that we brought in, only Jaquez Patrick ended up getting any carries, and that was just 2.
2?
Yeah. So
like a Willy Wonka. Willie, Charlie, how many pieces of chocolate did you get? 2. 2? I can't do 2. Can't do 2. Yeah, 2. Sorry, I love Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Let's get back on topic. Creativity is gonna. If they don't have creativity in the run game and they think we're gonna pass and win, I don't know about that.
That's a tough ask, unless Jimmy really feasts on the middle, but we'll get to that in a moment. I think Juice also has to be a component here. Juice and Lance, to me, are the 2 secret elements to the secret sauce that the Niners need in order to spark some creativity. Kyle needs to be in his bag.
They definitely need secret sauce. If they come into this game with just like ketchup and mustard or a little bit of mayonnaise, it's not going to get – we need secret sauce.
Yeah, you got to combine those.
Probably just Russian dressing, Thousand Island, but – who knows? Maybe you put your own little twist on it. I'm saying, need it.
Get some In-N-Out sauce.
In-N-Out sauce. Creativity. Okay, moving on. Jimmy Garoppolo, though, he's got a monster matchup. The Bengals.
Monster.
The Bengals can't cover anyone over the middle. It's statistically proven. I mean, they suck at covering over the middle, which is exactly where Jimmy wants to throw. So I think this is a good thing and a bad thing for the 49ers.
Yes. Thank you for saying that.
Go ahead.
No, I
you want me to say?
That, I mean, I'll piggyback off of what you said there. So Cincinnati is bad at it, right? And that was before losing Logan Wilson. So now Logan Wilson is out, their best inside backer, and sets up a guy with a new green dot on his helmet. He's got to get everyone into alignment. You would think that they would be a little bit worse this week in the middle of the field than they have been to this point, and that's pretty bad. Jimmy obviously really, really enjoys throwing to the middle of the field. But I think what you're hinting at, and what I feel as well, is this sets up for Kyle to get cute, for Kyle to outcoach himself, for Kyle to say, I'm going to shift the entire game plan to where we will pass the ball 35 times.
Or more. And real quick, the Bengals also have a very good run defense.
Yes, they do.
Kyle can often get into I got to take what the defense gives me here.
That's right. It's his patented excuse anytime he gets away from his identity. No, if your identity is to run the ball, then you know what? You run the damn ball, no matter what a defense throws at you.
Find a way. And here's the thing, Jimmy Garoppolo can indeed have a monster game against the Bengals. But that has to be in limited doses. That's how you use Jimmy.
Yes.
About 25 throws max, and he can make the most out of those 25 throws. But once you start asking him to throw 35, 40 times, in my opinion, the pick is coming. It might get dropped, but it's coming.
Yes.
And I don't think he gives you enough like Tom Brady or other like Peyton Manning, all those touchdowns where you can justify the one interception a game. No. He's a third down converter. He's a game manager, but you can't let him throw. I think the Niners are 1-5 this year when he throws a pick. So let those 25 throws be deadly. He can do a lot with 25 throws, but don't make it the whole offense.
Jimmy needs to be in lockstep with the rest of the team. He's not the one that's going to lead the charge in an offensive showdown. I think he responds better when you're able to establish the run, get that first touchdown, get up by a little bit, give him some confidence, allow the defense to start playing well. And then Jimmy seems to settle in and say, okay, I can complement what the team is already doing. But if you ask him to be the lead dog for the entirety of the game, so far this season, last year, it just hasn't worked out the way it did in 2019.
Here's the Jimmy Garoppolo conundrum. He's a terrific complement to a good run game.
Yes.
The way I look at it. Because he can get those third down conversions and keep it going.
He can.
So he's a terrific complement to a good run game. He has to have a good run game to be successful, and he does not help the run game in and of itself. Like, he's not going to help the yards per carry. He'll keep it on the field, but if the run game's gone because, the running backs aren't there, dude, he's in trouble.
Right.
He's in trouble. If it's like drop back 40, 50 times and have no run game, man, that's where you need a Hall of Fame quarterback, right? And he's just not. He's not.
And I think Steve Young is right when he says that if you're going to really make a push for the rest of this season and into the playoffs, what you really need is Jimmy G playing at a Pro Bowl level. And I don't think it's fair to expect that of him. And therefore, the 49ers need to prop him up in that regard. And that's not me trying to take a shot at Jimmy. That's just an acknowledgement of what he seems to need in order to be successful. It has to start with the run game. It has to be complementary football, because you're right. He doesn't produce enough of the chunk plays unless they come on yak yards,
right,
where it's hitting someone over the middle and George Kittle or Deebo Samuel's able to bowl over a defender. He's not going to get those 40-plus yard plays. But on the other side of this ball, if we're not holding on to time of possession, because the Bengals are averaging 31-30 in time of possession right now, 31 minutes, 30 seconds. So they also are good at holding on to the ball. The Niners need to get that run game going so that their defense isn't out there.
Right. Yeah, the Bengals have a really good running back in Joe Mixon. The Niners don't this week. So
that is correct. That is correct. So for Jimmy, I think it is getting creative early in that run game, really getting into the bag early, getting it established, and then allowing Jimmy to complement that, as you were saying.
Certainly. And he is good at that. I mean, I always say that, like, Jimmy's not good enough. He's too expensive. And I harp on I've said it a million times. But, he's really good on third down. I mean, we remember Alex Smith, and Alex Smith had his virtues, but it was maddening how he would check down on third down. It was maddening. Like, dude, you got to throw past the sticks. And Jimmy, God love him, always usually does. And sometimes he throws picks, but you got to have that mentality. And I appreciate that about him.
Yeah, no, he for whatever reason, that is money down for him. If he could carry through that mindset into other downs, we might be better.
Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the turnover battle, because it's pretty important for the 49ers.
Very important. Do you have Jimmy Ward's number? Can you call him and ask him for another 2-pick game?
No, but I'm in the same hotel as him, so I can track him down.
You bump into Jimmy. You let him know what we need.
Hi, I'm looking for James Ward. Thanks. I'm his friend. No, I'm not his friend.
I'm his buddy.
Yeah.
He thinks I'm an a-hole, but we're good.
Yeah. No, but I am, so it's okay.
Yeah, no, he acknowledged that as a positive trait. He thinks that it benefits you in what you're doing, and he wants you to stay that way.
Yeah.
Be true. Yeah, so Joe Burrow leads the league with 14 interceptions. So this is a possibility for the 49ers. Yeah. Unfortunately, on their side of the ball, they've not been great at forcing turnovers or at holding on to the ball either. It sets up, we just talked about, is this going to be a game where Kyle Shanahan gets cute and does throw the ball 35 times? If he does, you could see this turnover battle going the wrong way. My first question for you, Grant, are the 49ers currently a good enough team to win if they lose the turnover battle?
No. I think that's what we're seeing with this team, is that they were in 2019.
Yes.
I was at that game against Pittsburgh.
I was too. That was great.
And won.
Oh,
that shows you how good the Niners were right there. They would turn over 5 times and won, but this team, they're not that good. They're better than decent. I don't know. They're 6-6, so they're at least decent, but they have to be like clean as to win. They don't have much of a margin for error.
It was evidenced by the game against Seattle last week, right? They had a sloppy game, and it cost them against a poor team. I don't think anybody is fooled that the Seattle Seahawks are, in fact, a very flawed football team still, even after beating the Niners.
Yeah, the Niners are better than the Seahawks, even though the Seahawks beat them twice. Just like the Rams are better than the Niners, and the Niners beat the Rams twice. Kind of like that.
Very similar. Little brother, big brother syndrome for whatever reason.
Yep.
So do you think that the 49ers will be able to pressure Burrow with Bosa and whomever on the other side trying to contribute and force him into some turnovers? Because he's certainly going to be taking shots against his secondary.
They certainly could strip the ball from Burrow. It seems to me like if you're going to get – you were mentioning picks from Burrow. He leads the league in interceptions. Is that what you said? Leads the league in interceptions?
14 interceptions, most in the league.
Okay, now if it were Mosley and Norman and Ward and Tart, I would think they're coming because those are 4 3 good DBs and one solid one in Norman.
Right.
But now without Mosley, like I wouldn't expect Lenore or Thomas or Dante Johnson to intercept a pass. But what you could do is if you tilt coverage so much that way, where you pretty much say, like, if you throw it over here, we're going to pick it off because there's so many people here, and just put Josh Norman one-on-one, well, then it's up to Josh Norman because he's going to get a lot of targets, and maybe he'll force a fumble, maybe he'll intercept a pass. He's done that a lot in his career. So I think it's going to come down to Norman. Norman's going to have to step up, and he's been that guy for the defense all season, if we're being fair. He has.
Yeah. And if it were Richard Sherman on that side, he would bait Joe Burrow into a throw that he thought he could pick off, right? As a veteran move, he would create just enough space to where Joe Burrow thought he could fit it in and then pop in for the pick.
It seems to me, though, that the Niners have to match up. Like, I don't think Norman can match up with Chase. Chase is too fast. Chase has 4.3 speed, and I think that's why we're going to see him. I think Norman's a better matchup for Higgins, who's 6'4". You know, you got size on size. So I don't know. Maybe they'll have person-to-person matchups.
May need K'Wan Williams to step up in this regard. You would think that he could be, matched up against Tyler Boyd as more of the possession receiver.
Possible. Yeah.
That could be. I mean, the Shark may want to eat today.
Well, the Niners are going to, if they win the turnover battle, they're going to win. And if they win this game, I mean, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but they should probably make playoffs. If they win this game, all they got to do pretty much after that is win their 2 remaining home games. But so, I mean, good opportunity. Not sure they will win it, but
great opportunity. I think I side with you in that it's probably more likely for a forced fumble, whether it is Josh Norman continuing his streak of peanut punches or whether it is Nick Bosa coming in with the strip sack on Joe Burrow. That seems like the more likely scenario than forcing him into too many bad passes where you
Why did they call it a peanut punch? I mean, was he the first person who ever punched a ball out? I mean, come on.
He was just
I know that's
good
what it's called, but like, man.
Nobody did it like Charles Peanut Tillman.
Josh Norman, pretty good. All right.
Pretty damn good.
Do the Niners need a quick start to win this game?
I think they absolutely do. The 49ers, much
saying
like
they shouldn't give up a fake punt for a touchdown and right off the bat.
You know, I think you're trying not to. You know, sometimes unavoidable, as Richard Hightower might tell you, but yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah.
The 49ers, as we just said earlier, are not a good enough team to win when they lose the turnover battle. I think the same thing is true here, that they are not really set up to come back, especially on a team like Cincinnati, where if they get rolling and they get confident and that wide receiver trio starts to feast on a very vulnerable secondary, I mean, this game could skew in one direction if that happens. And so the 49ers have to do everything they can in order to minimize that fast start. I think that it does favor the 49ers in a couple of ways, in that Cincinnati has had their struggles with slow starts in games. So if that turns out, that would be fantastic news for the 49ers. If Cincy gets out to a slow start, then, you know, the Niners can meander a bit before finding their sea legs as well. And then there's the later start than usual, right? I mean, they flexed this game to be a 1:30 game on the West Coast, right? So
yeah,
it avoids that usual early start. But I don't know, how you feeling after that travel? You feeling a little bit tired, a little bit off your body clock?
I'm a little tired. I mean, I went to Seattle last week too. This is the second road game in a row, and Seattle wasn't that far, but it's kind of tiring. I mean, it's not going to be a body clock thing. It's just to be like, it's an accumulation of miles thing.
Yeah.
So I'm curious the Niners came out flat last week. They flew. It's about 2 hours, about an hour and a half to Seattle. They came out flat and really had one of their flattest, most sloppiest, maybe the sloppiest, most unprepared performance of the season. I mean, 10 penalties plus the 3 turnovers and the safety. This safety usually shows like that's embarrassing. You know,
very embarrassing.
And there was a safety, like, that doesn't happen every week. Anyway. If they play like that again, they're going to get blown out this week. So I'd like to see, can you put that behind you and show that was just a one-off, or was that little run kind of short-lived and all about Debo? And are you going to revert back to this kind of rudderless, directionless, disappointment of a freaking team that's way more talented than its record?
Way more talented
than its record.
It's crazy.
This team is really underperforming big time.
That game against Seattle really opened up in a strange way. I mean, that injury to Trent and Cannon on the first play, it sucked the life out of the stadium. I think you're probably in a press box, right? I was down in the heart of the stands.
You're thinking like, is he paralyzed?
Oh my God. Even Seahawks fans were definitely quiet in that moment, and they were saying, "Oh, well, the cart's coming over. Oh, the cart's going away. That's good news. Oh no, the ambulance is coming onto the field. It's even more severe than needing a cart."
It's scary.
Recovering from that is a very tricky thing in such a violent sport such as football. But the defense did respond, and those first 3 snaps, it looked like the 49ers had come out with life. That punt return for the touchdown just electrified the fan base. It enraged all of the Seahawks to give them life. It brought them to a place of confidence that perhaps was slipping. I mean, just the fans around me were giving up after the 3 and out. They were like, well, just another week, just another performance.
Yup, they've seen that all the time.
Yeah. But no, we gave them life. And so it will be about avoiding those mistakes against Cincinnati. You can't come out and commit a big defensive pass interference to start the game. You can't come out and allow a deep touchdown shot. You need to be in this game from start to finish with the complementary football style that the 49ers play so well.
Yeah, and remember, Cincinnati is a lot better than Seattle, okay? You're not talking about a team that's going to quit if the Niners go up 14-0 early. They could. The Niners could go up, but this is a huge game for Cincinnati. I know the Niner fans aren't focused on the AFC races and stuff, but Cincinnati is 1 game out of first place in their division. They're 1 game behind the Ravens, who they've beaten already this season, I believe, and are going to play soon. Yes. So this is a huge freaking game because I kind of feel like if you look at the AFC, it's so competitive. They may have a better chance to make the playoffs winning the division than as a wild card team. The wild card is really tough. So they
are currently sitting in that 7th seed, and therefore they are fighting for their playoff lives just like the 49ers. It does feel, in talking to their fan base, that they are very much the same as 49er fans. Hey, we've got an inconsistent team at this point, a team that when they put it all together, it's pretty to watch, that the offense, when it's clicking, is lights out. The games that they lose are typically because they've shot themselves in the foot. It's the games that Joe Burrow has committed 2 interceptions or more. Their record is atrocious in those games. So it's a mirror image of one another. Basically 500 teams, both teams sitting in the 7th seed, both feeling like every week is a playoff game at this point, both fighting for those playoff lives, and both inconsistent.
But here's the thing, though. The Niners, even though they have this, they're in the same spot, I think the Niners are in a much better spot because they're in the NFC.
Yes, it breaks out much cleaner for the Niners' path to the playoffs.
Yeah, like I'm looking at footballoutsiders.com. They have their playoff odds. And right now, they have the Niners at, hold on. Let me wait for it.
Hold the phones, people.
81.6%.
Ooh,
81.6. And again, they can lose this game. This is not a must-win game for the Niners. They can lose this game, win their 2 home games. All they got to do is win 3 of the next 5. And this one doesn't have to be it. The Bengals, on the other hand, they're currently, Football Outsiders has them at, wait for it, 38.7%. So they're in a tough spot. They pretty much got to shoot the moon and win their division, most likely. They just had an embarrassing loss last week. They're a talented young team that hasn't been good that long. So we'll see. They're way better than Seattle, but Seattle's the opposite. Like, Seattle's a team that, with a quarterback who knows how to win, but the rest of the team really, 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 really sucks.
Right.
This is the opposite of that. It's a really talented team that's not quite consistent yet, but.
Yeah, emotionally, you have to hope that the 49ers took that one on the chin last week against Seattle, felt embarrassed by the fact that they just got beat by a worse team, by their big brother, and carry that embarrassment into this game and unleash it onto the Cincinnati Bengals.
Because the Bengals it's going to be the best of the Bengals. They just got embarrassed last week. They need to win. They need this game more than the Niners. Is what I want to say.
Their schedule is very tough. You pointed to the Ravens game. That's going to be a very exciting matchup for them.
Will Craig says, with how outspoken Steve Young has been this year, makes me wish he either gets approached for quarterback coach, maybe in GM next season. That would be awesome, in my opinion. Look. Steve Young probably makes. Do you understand how much money he makes at ESPN just to talk about football.
Just talking.
Do you understand what quarterback coaches get paid to work 7 days a week, probably 11, 12 hours a day more? Not that much.
Chump change.
It's a hard job. And the people that are those position coaches, I really, really respect because they're regular, hardworking people. It's not very glamorous. You think, oh my God, you're a position coach in the NFL? Yeah, you work from 7 to 9 every day, and you're in a different spot every 2 years. It's really hard, really hard. So I don't think Steve, I mean, if I were Steve's agent, I'd be like, dude, don't do that. Just you have the best job right now.
Yeah, I don't get the sense listening to Steve Young that he's aching for that type of a work schedule. He seems to be pretty content with the amount of film he's watching for ESPN, with the cushy job that he's got at this point, with the money he's bringing in. He seems pretty contented to me.
Like, look at Pat McAfee. You think he would want to go be a special teams coach right now? Or do you think he wants to do what he wants to do?
Yeah, man just signed a $30 million a year deal with whatever DraftKings or whomever that was.
Like for example, for a couple of years ago, I literally would have really would have want to be a real quality control coach for a team. Those guys make probably 50, 60,000 a year. Now I'm like, you know what? I'll just pretend to be one on YouTube. Thank you. This is more lucrative. Pretending to be quality control pays better than actually being quality control.
And I'm guessing it's a lot more fun as well.
Way more fun. All right, let's talk Trey Lance.
Trey Lance?
This has been something that the beat writers have known and really haven't talked about because we're pretty go with the flow out here in the Bay Area. But Cam Inman, God love him. I wasn't there yesterday. I flew to Cincinnati. These guys flew in today. That's a long weekend to do in 3 days, but they did. Cam, God love him, was there on Friday, and I'm listening on the plane. Every single question is about Trey Lance. I'm like, man, good going, guys. Nice going. How's he doing on the scout team? And I mean, they really had Kyle Shanahan giving all kind of stuff, and Shanahan didn't mind. He was cool talking about Trey Lance. No Trey Lance though. He didn't talk, and he hasn't talked since he played.
Right.
And we've been requesting him. We can't go into the locker room anymore. It used to be a non-issue, but now they have to bring him to us, and they haven't brought him. And so Cam, I guess this was I wasn't there, but I think it was their comment. We're asking about him. He's a topic.
Yeah.
And then they went to practice, took a picture. Cam had a caption on Twitter saying, this is Trey Lance. Apparently he's doing great on the scout team. I'd love to ask him about it, but the team won't make him available. And that's where we're at. The team is not making him available. It's been more than a month. Let's argue about it.
Let's argue about it. I'm assuming that you'd be comfortable with the side of arguing that you should have the privilege of asking Trey Lance some questions. Is that a fair assumption?
Your use of the word privilege in that sentence offends me. I don't. But yes, other than that word, yes.
It does strike me that the media feels they're owed this, and I have to say from Trey's side of it, I'm glad that he's not being offered up for media availability, and I'll tell you why. I don't believe that it's Trey's fault that he's not starting. I don't believe that Trey should have to answer for organizational mistakes that have been made along the path. I don't think that Trey should have to be defensive about his inability to get on the field because the 49ers absolutely dropped the ball on this entire process, starting with the trade up.
You done?
I am allowing for response, and then we'll continue, sir.
All right, cool. All right. I feel really strongly about this. This is my job. This is journalism. This is sports journalism here. All right.
It is.
And I understand that teams are begrudging with NFL teams are very begrudging with their access with journalists because from teams' perspective, they're a football team. They're trying to win. That's it.
That's right.
No, this is professional sports. This is entertainment. It's about making money. You're not just a football team. You're a team in the NFL. All right. You're in a league. And they have an agenda. You know what their agenda is? Making money. And they have ways they want to do that. It's really, they work with us, the media. We're their marketing. And there are rules. This is collectively bargained between the owners, the league, the Players Association. These are just rules. So I looked it up. This is something that's in there. And for just such an occasion, because there's always a team saying, but we shouldn't have to, this one guy, he doesn't even, why should, There's always one team with one player that they don't think should have. So here's the rule, all right? I'm just reading it. Players must be available to the media following every game and regularly during the practice week as required under league rules and their contracts as noted above. It is not, let me read that again since I stuttered through the whole thing. Players must be available to the players must be available to the media following every game and regularly during the practice week as required under league rules and their contracts. It is not permissible for any player or any group of players to boycott the media. Players with unusually heavy media demands must be available to the media that regularly cover their teams at least, underlined, once during the practice week, in addition to their required post-game media availability. That's the rule.
That seems
if
pretty
the NFL
clear-cut.
wanted to give exceptions, they would be exceptions. So here's the thing. The Niners are in violation of a rule. And the reason that, we just haven't gone to the league yet because we're not trying to go to war with the Niners.
Right. That's ugly.
So what Cam did was really clever. He just put it out there. Not taking a shot at the Niners, not going to the league, but now it's public. And now you know what's going to happen? Trey Lance is going to talk. Because if he doesn't, then he's going to get fined. And how is that fair? Remember with Marshawn Lynch 7 years ago?
Yes.
He got fined like $100,000 because he wouldn't talk. And then he went out there and said, I'm just here so I won't get fined, which is super classic. Super classic. And if Trey Lance wants to go out there and do that, that's what it is, man. That's the way it is. And that's because it's sports entertainment. If you wanted to not have that part of the league, then you could just be amateur and focus on winning. And I respect that. But it's not what it is. I'm sorry, but you can disagree. I'm a journalist. You're a fan.
I definitely do disagree, but it is interesting to know that the rules pretty clearly state that he should be available because, I'm guessing that the requests for Trey have been consistent on a weekly basis.
And like if we go to the league, something bad, but that's not what this. We're not at war with the team. We're not trying to do that. Really, we're not trying to ask Trey Lance too many. You know us. There'd be a couple questions like how's it feel to be, but really we're a bunch of softball central people. It's just only fair that we should have access that the NFL gives us. We're just asking for the rules to be enforced. We're not asking for special treatment. We're not. And if Colin Kaepernick were on a team and it was a backup, someone would be like, well, why do we have to make him available? Because those are the freaking rules. And if you have an issue with it, take it up with the league, not us. I'm saying, like, we're not the bad guys because we're asking for what's been collectively bargained.
Right. And in years past, this wouldn't be quite the issue that it is now because you'd have locker room access. You'd have the ability to approach Trey Lance and get some of these storylines.
He's there. Hey, Trey, you got a minute? Sure.
Right.
But now the league is able to control their narrative like never before. And you can't let billion-dollar organizations control their narrative. I don't care if they're sports or not. It's a lot of money at stake. And I'm there for a reason. So anyway, look, all I want to say is,
what's interesting?
I bet you Trey's going to talk soon. I bet you he will.
I would think so after that pressure being applied. What's interesting is I find myself now in split loyalties in that I believe that you're correct, that the NFL should not really be able to dictate who we have access to. And yet I'm still glad that Trey Lance is not provided access. So my question to you.
Explain that again from a fan's perspective. Because to me, if I were a fan still and I'm not, I'd want to know freaking Trey Lance. Like, I'm sorry. This is the fact that he's this, mystery in the background, like working in the bat cave. Like, nah, I want to hear something. I want to get to know him. He's more than just a player. He's a person. But I'd like to, because I know a lot of fans are like, I just want to, if this is what leads to wins, then good.
Yeah. So it goes back to it not being Trey's fault that he's not starting. It goes back to it being an organizational issue from the outset, setting the wrong expectations when they traded up to 3, setting the wrong expectations in saying that Trey was going to push Jimmy for the starting job. Steve Young said as much in his most recent interview that this wasn't what I was led to believe. This wasn't what we were all led to believe, that there was going to be a true competition. They should have known coming into this. They should have set expectations that were fairer to Trey. And so that pressure has been applied to this young gentleman because of failings within the 49ers front office, because of failings within their coaching staff to get him.
It's not his fault.
Yeah, properly pumped up to play. And so the question becomes those top questions that are on your mind that you want to ask to Trey. Aren't they really questions for Kyle and John? I understand they're not answering them.
I'm sorry, you can't draft a guy in the first round and then put him in the garage and say, "Don't look over here. Don't talk, don't ask me about this. Don't look over here." Like, no, you can't tell us what's news. He's the news. He's your first round pick. He's the future of your franchise. He's the player on the team that fans are most interested in. I'll tell you, as a guy who runs a YouTube channel and I look at he's the guy. He's the news. You can't play like this little magic act like, don't look over here. Don't look over here. I know you're looking over here, but don't look over here. Like, no, man, you can't determine, not you, but the team, you can't determine that. And if he's the topic, you made him the topic. You can't run from this. And what they're doing is running from it. Like, don't ask us about this. Let's pretend it's not happening. No, you can't. We can't ignore the 800-pound gorilla in the room that is Trey Lance. You can't ignore it. And you can't ask the media to be complicit with you. We're not on your side. You traded for him. There are questions. No, every time I do like a radio hit in another town, like Seattle or someplace that's not Green Bay, they're like, what the hell is going on at quarterback? I don't know. But over here, everyone's like, oh, yeah, it's a plan. It makes sense. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Everywhere else, like, what is that? That's basically how the world, the country's looking at it. So I think it's fair to at least ask the question. And I know it sucks for Trey to put him out there and to make him. But you know what? You got to get out in front of this. And they created this situation. And if you don't want him to have uncomfortable questions, and freaking play him. Play him.
So I concur with a great analogy. It's like having a beautiful Ferrari in the garage and be like, no, we can't go look at it. No, you can't see it. Yeah, it's there. It'll be great when we go for a drive. But yeah.
Don't even ask me about it. Yeah.
So that fits. But to me, the questions around Trey Lance are absolutely questions that need to be directed to Kyle and John. Now, I understand the frustration of the media in that they direct those questions.
I've asked
direct
Kyle
those questions to Kyle.
Yes.
And his response is to get snarky. His response is to act as if it's crazy that you're asking these questions. And that annoys me to no end. So that is where I think you and I are in alignment, that I think it's trash that Kyle Shanahan created this dynamic and now wants to pretend that it's wild that the media wants to speculate on it and talk about it. Of course they want to talk about it. We all want to talk about it. My problem is I think Trey Lance is already under enough pressure. And as a 49er faithful who wants him to be successful, I don't want to add to that pressure by having him answer questions that he's really not in control of. The idea of him not playing, get that autofocus back, baby. Get that autofocus back. Can't you see my eyes?
What is going on here?
There you go. Oh, the yelling at it. So it's questions I want Kyle to answer. So my stance is a bit softer in that regard, where I am upset with Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch for not answering these questions more fully, for pretending like they're irritated and didn't expect these questions. You should have damn well known that these questions were coming when you traded up to 3 to take a quarterback and paid a guy $27 million to be your starter for this year. But again, those questions to me don't belong in Trey Lance's lap.
To be fair, we're not that tough.
No.
I mean, I'm the tough one. I'm not going to grill Trey. I like the idea of Trey. It's
That's
not
fair.
New York. We're not going to go up there and be like, so say how much you hate the 49ers. We're not going to do that. And you know, he's a very professional, mature young man. He can handle himself. Really, it's just an opportunity for him to look good, for him to go up there and be professional and be like, oh, this is great. I love this organization. I love Kyle. I love the plan. It's just an opportunity for him to look good and say the right thing, and for fans to be like, I love this guy. Wow. Really, I mean, it's a no-lose situation. It's so easy. And the fact that they're hiding him, it's like, dude, bad PR, bad marketing. Come on, you can't run from this. It's the 800-pound gorilla. Just put him up there and have him say the right thing. End of story. End of story.
They've compounded their mistakes in not allowing him to speak, because now it is that in and of itself has become a storyline.
What's the deal here?
They've continued to pile more and more pressure on the young gentleman because of that inability to put him before the media. And now it is a thing. And now fans are asking about it. And again, for me, it goes back to Trey being the innocent victim in all of this, that none of this was created by him. Not even created by his performance. It is created by the San Francisco 49ers John Lynch setting an expectation, Kyle Shanahan and his coaching staff and their inability to get Trey ready to even contribute in packages. That's the real story to me.
Here's the worst question that he's going to have to face. Why didn't you accept our interview request for the last month and a half? And it probably wasn't his fault.
No,
it was probably the team, but it makes him look like he was ducking us. He's the one who's going to get fined if this comes down to it. Like, that's the most unfair thing about it is you're trying to protect him. You're not. He can handle himself. You're not protecting him. You're making him look bad in 8 different ways, not playing him, not letting him talk, not letting him speak for himself. What is he, 17? Come on. Come on. You can't control the narrative. You can't get us to just ignore the 800-pound gorilla. You need to put him up there and prep him. You're all on the same team here. They're going to ask this. They're going to ask that. This is what you want to say. And if he wants to go out there and publicly ask for a trade, then that's his business. I doubt it. I think it'll be all right. Trust him. What's the worst that could happen? Anyway. I
can't imagine it being too terrible. I stay on the side of wanting these answers from the coaching staff because I think that's where my thought on it is that Trey won't provide any real answers because he doesn't have the answers because it isn't his fault that this situation has devolved to where it is. The people who have the answers are Kyle Shanahan, are John Lynch.
Fair. It's fair. But what I'm saying is, and you're right, you cannot set the precedent that there's a reason that one player would be absolved from media. You can't set that precedent.
That I agree wholeheartedly. It's a dangerous road to go down.
It's a really bad situation, and you didn't create it. You didn't create this situation. I feel terrible, but my heart goes out to Trey Lance, dude. It's part of it, man, and it's part of it. Anyway,
and if he's going to be the face of the franchise, he's going to have to stand up to it at some point.
And this is a Niner issue, not a Trey issue. This is a Niner issue. Handle it, Niners. This is nothing about Trey. I'm not being like Trey needs to talk. No, the Niners need to stop treating him like he's 17.
Correct.
Is Debo playing? If not, we will lose. We'll find out 90 minutes before the game.
Yeah, it's trending in the right direction.
This is feeling more and more like a Jordan Love situation and less like a Mahomes situation where we're hoping for. I'm afraid of this organization will ruin him. Okay, let's get to the topic right now. Is Trey Lance simply not ready to play at all? There were packages for Trey Lance. They're gone. He doesn't play anymore. And Steve Young has been very outspoken saying that Trey Lance should be the starter. Sees himself in Trey Lance. This week he went on with Matt Mayoko and said, you know what? Everyone's asking why Trey Lance isn't playing anymore. I mean, all I can interpret from the way they're not using him, their actions, is that he's just not ready. I mean, what else are they telling us? They're saying with their actions that he's not ready for anything. Not to start, not to run, not for one play. No, not a package, not a nada is he ready for. That's what Steve Young said. And that's what he said. Anyway, do you agree with his interpretation? How do you interpret his interpretation?
I do, 1,000%. And let me take a moment to pause before we end this show just to plug the show after the show. It'll continue on my channel after this, so head over there after Grant and I finish in a few minutes here. But to this topic with Steve Young, yes, absolutely. So my premise is that I don't buy into many conspiracy theories. I'm an Occam's razor type of guy. The simplest explanation is typically the most likely explanation. I believe that Kyle Shanahan wants to win football games, that Kyle Shanahan would do whatever he believes gives him the best chance to win football games. And I heard Steve Young reference that fact as well. So if that is true, then we have to look at if he had a player who he felt added anything to the offense, would he work that player in? I think you have to answer yes to that. So now you're saying that not only is Trey not ready to compete, but he's not ready to even contribute on those packages where he's coming in. Some compliment could be Kyle's inability to get in a rhythm, as he stated, but you would think there could be specific instances within the game that you would know Trey would be coming in, and therefore it wouldn't be much of a rhythm issue. You would define them clearly, and that would be proving to us that Trey adds value. Him not being on the field, your actions speak louder than your words. Mm-hmm. And that to me is a booming statement by not bringing him in for the 4 to 8 snaps that we all want every week.
Okay. I don't buy it, but here's the way I look at what Steve Young is doing. I think Steve Young is doing the reverse psychology that needs to be done. on Kyle Shanahan. I think this is reverse psychology. Everyone's telling Kyle, you got to play Lance, you got to play Lance. What does Kyle do when people tell him what to do? The opposite. He digs in every time.
Yeah.
And so what Steve is doing, Steve's brilliant. And he's doing reverse psychology.
That's a fact.
Okay. All right. Kyle says Trey Lance sucks then. I guess Trey Lance sucks, right, Kyle? Don't play him. Don't play him. He sucks. You're telling us he sucks. Don't play him. That's reverse psychology, because now Kyle can be like, whoa. I didn't say that.
I'm not saying Trey sucks.
Because hold on, he didn't say that. He never said this. The reason he said that he doesn't call plays for Trey Lance anymore, he blamed himself. The only thing he's ever blamed himself for, he said, you know what? I realize that I'm not good at calling those plays. I don't do a good job anticipating what the defense. I'm not good at it. Sean Payton might be good at it. I'm not. That's what he said. I'm not good at it. I thought
that I'm a rhythm play caller, and that really takes me out of my rhythm.
He blamed himself. So why? Here's what he said about Trey Lance after his start against Arizona. Remember, he lost Arizona, but his QBR was higher than Kyler Murray's. He actually outplayed Kyler Murray, lost, according to ESPN. This is what Shanahan said after the game. I was there in the postgame press conference. Overall, I think we could have done a little bit better around him. I thought he did good enough to win. Then he said, I wanted him to go out there and play like he's been doing in practice and be comfortable to run the offense, especially in a tough environment like that, one that he's never been in before. For the most part, I thought he did it. So let me go back to my conspiracy theory. I do think that Kyle Shanahan likes Trey Lance. I think Kyle Shanahan's in Trey Lance's corner. I don't think the locker room is. I think the locker room has been on Jimmy's side for the entire time. And I think Jimmy has a stronger hold in the locker room than Kyle. And I think Kyle's afraid of losing the locker room. And so even though he likes Trey Lance, you got to play the quarterback that the team wants to play for. End of story. You have to. Unless you're Bill Belichick and you can be like, I have 8 rings and you're going to do what I say, because Kyle isn't that guy.
I would dispute that in saying that winning is everything. If you're correct, if you're Kyle Shanahan and you've got an ego, which, let's be real, Kyle's got an ego, and you believe you're correct. You believe that despite what the locker room may feel, if we're going down your premise here, that Trey Lance gives us a better chance in certain packages to complete these shot plays, to stress defenses, to win more snaps, to win more games. I believe his ego would prevent him from conceding to the locker room. I believe he would say to himself, I'm right, and I can show you I'm right. And once I've shown you that I'm right, then you'll be on my side. So to me, it very much speaks to his lack of confidence in the ability to contribute. I have to side with Steve Young on this one in believing that if Kyle thought Trey added anything, he would put it out there for the entire world to see, to show them that he was right, to show them what he can do with the new toy.
But it's been demonstrated that he had something. I mean, he's been brought in at the goal line twice this season. He scored touchdowns both times. He threw a touchdown pass to Sherfield in Detroit. He ran for a touchdown against Green Bay. It's been demonstrated. That's why I keep saying that it's not as simple as Occam's razor. It's not. And what I think is going on here is there was a plan. When they decided to draft Trey Lance, organizationally they decided he's going to redshirt. We're going to play Jimmy Garoppolo, and we're going to trade Jimmy Garoppolo because we have to get some picks back. And so what I think is pretty evident is the more Trey Lance plays, if he starts to improve and outshine Jimmy Garoppolo, even if you make Trey Lance the backup still, you're going from trading a starting quarterback to a backup quarterback. And Trey Lance really is the biggest threat to Jimmy Garoppolo's trade value if it exists. Because now you can say he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. We brought in Trey Lance. We thought he'd be great, but Jimmy's better than the 3rd pick in the draft. That's how good Jimmy is. Nothing against Trey. He's better than the 3rd pick but if all of a sudden Trey Lance starts coming in and outshining Jimmy, then you just tanked your trade asset yourself.
So you believe that the 49ers may be prioritizing a trade asset above winning games, above developing their future quarterback?
They can win with Jimmy. They're 6-5 with Jimmy this year. But I don't see that they're like, there's no plan to win a Super Bowl this year unless they get lucky. And there's no plan to win a Super Bowl next year because they're playing all their vets. So, I mean, they're in hey, let's make the playoffs and see what happens mode, which is not my favorite way of building a team, but it's better than sucking. I mean, this team has had 4 playoff seasons since 2003. I like playoffs, but really, I mean, this season, if they go to the playoffs and lose in the first round, I don't see it as a success, even though it will be their 5th playoff season since 03. If they were playing Lance, you'd be like, man, this team's going to be even better next year. But when they lose eventually, you're like, what is this team next year? Is Jimmy coming back? Who's coming back? And is the team going to be better? Are they set up for next year? So to me, it's a really strange thing that they're not playing Lance. And you said, are they prioritizing this? Yes, I do.
Yeah,
I do.
We can agree on that. It's a very strange phenomenon that they're not getting him in at all, because Steve pointed out that even if you believe he's not contributing on these packages right now, playing in your rookie year is something you want to do. Steve was talking about how valuable that experience is. You know he would get better week in, week out in these packages. So maybe he's not contributing right away, but we know that he is, to your point, that he has scored on a couple of those instances where he's been brought in the game. You would expect the percentage of contributions to go up as he had more and more experience. We can agree on that.
Real quick. So they get down to the 7-yard line, right?
Yep.
So you're first and goal at the 7. You have 4 plays. 4. You could call 1 for Trey Lance.
Oh, yeah.
1 of them. But no. To me, you can't tell me he's not ready to run the ball left. Was he going to fumble? Is he that? We've seen him do it. So there's got to be something more here. There's got to be something more than meets the eye. And to me, it's clearly he's not that much better than Jimmy Garoppolo that he's just going to win over the team and make it apparent. But the idea is that, if it's close now, he could improve with time. But I really don't think that the organization wants to give up on Jimmy Garoppolo like that. And I don't think the locker room does either. So I think, look, it's quite an ambitious play to say we're going to trade for the number 3 pick, draft a quarterback, but then try to still preserve Jimmy Garoppolo's trade value like you didn't just kill it. But that's ambitious. That's the game they're trying to play here. And I think they're trying to do it by saying, okay, well, we traded for Trey Lance and that made Jimmy look bad, but Jimmy beat him out. And we like Trey, but Jimmy's better than that kind of thing.
Yeah, I go back to winning above all else. I don't think they held on to Jimmy to then get something out of trading him. I think they held on to Jimmy to maximize their wins this year. And it's a failed transitional plan, but I don't think it's about the trade value to me.
Man, I feel you. But if they were going to win, if winning above all else was the mantra this season, I just don't understand their play calls those last 4 plays. Damn.
That makes
the last 2 throws to Trent Sturfield.
Would
you do that in the playoff game? Would you do that in the playoff game? Would you let that come down to Trent Sturfield? Even on the last play, he was open. Who's to say he would have caught the ball? He dropped it on 3rd down. He literally dropped it on 3rd down. Let's give him one more chance. It's Trent Sturfield, everyone, and his 25 career catches. I'm sorry.
Brutal.
Last Second Sports says, I assume Trey talking to the media is learning to be a pro that everyone refers to. Am I wrong? He doesn't speak English. He's going to have to learn how to speak English. Currently, he only speaks Esperanto, which is a little-known language. It's a universal language. Chris says the main problem with Trey Lance's situation is no one is saying anything at all. The organization owes the fan base something, personal opinion. Yeah, come out and be like, hey, something to make the fan base. I do feel like a significant portion of the fan base is starting to feel like young. They're like, hey, well, look, all we can think is that this kid sucks. Yeah, he's Jordan Love.
I got both my hands up here because I'm that guy that wants what Chris is talking about here. I'm the guy that wants Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch to provide me with answers. You sold me a bad bill of goods at the beginning of this season. You sold me on that. You broke my heart, John Lynch. And now I want an explanation. Now I want to know why we are where we are right now. I need to know why those packages are not coming in. And throws me out of rhythm thing is not sufficient for me.
No.
But I don't want those answers from Trey. I want those answers from John and Kyle.
I think it's interesting that Kyle blamed himself. I really think that Kyle wanted Trey Lance and has found it. But it's been surprised that his team wasn't right there with him. I think John Lynch is Team Jimmy. Traded for Jimmy, has defended Jimmy every step of the way.
Yes,
at their post-draft press conference. No. When they made the trade, the first thing out of John's mouth was, I just want to say that, I called Jimmy and I reassured him and he's doing okay. Like, who cares? I'm sorry. He's the past, right? But not for John. John loves Jimmy.
And they had to try to prop him up, right? They cut his legs out from under him with the move, and then they tried to prop him up with some crutches.
Go lead our team to a Super Bowl, even though you won't be here next year. Okay. Anyway, I don't buy that he's not ready to play at all. I think he should have played last week against Seattle. If with Elijah Mitchell and possibly Deebo Samuel not playing this week, I think he should play this week. And I think that the decision not to sprinkle him in as a Taysom Hill type quarterback, which was the plan the preseason, has cost them one game last week.
Yes.
And could cost them more if Deebo Samuel and Elijah Mitchell don't play. So they need to really think about this. It's not a must-win game, but risk, what are you losing? What are you gaining? How much would it cost you to put him on the field? Something to think about.
Absolutely. There's no excuse at this point. And this week sets up to be a game where it's needed. We talked about needing creativity in the run game. Nothing more creative than 11-on-11 football.
They're trading Lance to Houston for first rounders and signing Watson.
That doesn't strike me as Occam's razor right there. That seems like a fairly complicated explanation.
That's like the real QAnon. You really think Jed York is going to bring Deshaun Watson? Is Deshaun Watson any closer to getting out from under those 27?
I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. But
I mean, is there any
not that I'm aware of. There were rumors that he was looking to settle before the trade deadline, but then Miami didn't make the trade, and so he didn't make the settlement.
All of those cases would have to get dropped. For York, I don't see it.
And even if they were, there would still be that shadow hanging over him. And San Francisco is not a place that wants to deal with that type of drama.
If they were dropped, you'd like to think that maybe it was wrong. And it was, but
correct.
Save that. I don't see it happening. Maybe somewhere else. Rodman Sanchez says, what do you guys, and I think that's also why he didn't get traded at the deadline. I think teams are being like, well, we're going to need to see, nothing's changed. We're going to need to see a little bit. We're going to need some time.
That's a lot of accusations.
I mean, really, what if you trade for the dude and then it all falls down on his head and it was true? I mean, what did you think was going to happen? Why did you do this?
You're probably looking at a year suspension by the NFL.
Everyone gets fired. I mean, yeah. Rodman Sanchez says, what do you guys think about what Peter King said that he thinks the Niners would stick with Jimmy in 2022? Do you think the organization leak it? Yes. Yes. I'm sorry.
Yes to both
my
parts?
theory is that it's well, sorry, go ahead.
No, yes to both parts? Are you saying yes, you do think he could be there in 22 and the team leaked it?
I think John Lynch was never really into the Trey Lance thing. I think John Lynch thinks Jimmy Garoppolo is a franchise quarterback.
Interesting.
And that I think he thinks, I can't prove it. I'm not saying he leaked it, but I think this is John Lynch. I think he's a Jimmy Garoppolo guy. I think he thinks that Trey Lance was like a Kyle Shanahan tantrum. Oh, we went 6-10. Kyle always blames someone. He blames his quarterback. I need a new quarterback. I think what Lynch thinks is that over time, Kyle will calm down, come to his senses, realize that he is way too hard on Jimmy, and that Jimmy's really I disagree with John. I don't think that Jimmy's a franchise quarterback. I think he's an expensive bridge quarterback.
Right. Interestingly, though, if you listen to Steve pretty closely in that interview, he implies that Jimmy is more than we think he is as well, right? He implies that if Kyle Shanahan just had greater trust with Jimmy Garoppolo, that he thinks Jimmy could be the guy. I see this much more as the second part being true. I absolutely believe that the organization leaked it. And I think that does go back to your theory around the 49ers attempting to maximize trade value. That I think they want to say, well, we may keep him. You know, if we don't get a good offer, he may be the starter here, but I think they have zero intention of that.
If you go back and look at the quotes from Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch all offseason, when they were asked about the quarterback situation, John Lynch always would give the answer, Jimmy Garoppolo is our guy, that's the end of it. Unequivocally. Jimmy Garoppolo's our guy, that's the end of it. And then when Kyle was asked about it, he'd be like, well, this year's a little different because we only have one guy under contract. So we have one guy under contract, so we're going to have to really spend some time. He would hem and haw and not answer the question. John was real clear. Jimmy's our guy. He said it over and over again. And there were reports that the Niners were looking at guys like Joe Flacco. I believe that John's plan for the offseason was to stick with Jimmy and improve the backup quarterback position. He probably was like, dude, Nick Mullins, Kyle, that's your guy. He wasn't, can we just get like an Andy Dalton type or a Joe Flacco type? And Kyle's like, no, we got to trade 3 first-round picks and a third. You know what I'm saying? And so they went with Kyle because Kyle has the last word in the organization. But, you know, That's what I think, and I have zero evidence, but to me, it all makes sense. So that's my story.
And there's no evidence that directly contradicts that concretely.
No.
But I would say there's also evidence that could support an argument that they were much more in lockstep, but that John is just, as an ex-player, very conscious of what the organization did to Jimmy in taking his legs out from under him and felt bad about doing that. And therefore, his comments reflect that feeling of like, ooh, we treated Jimmy pretty dirty this offseason, and now we're asking him to be our starting quarterback for the year. I should probably walk back some of the actions that we took with my words.
He really likes Jimmy Garoppolo.
He does.
Everyone likes Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy's a very likable guy.
Very likable guy. And again, like, the Patriots entrusted the 49ers with him. You know, they could have sent him anywhere. Wasn't that they could have sent him to Cleveland? Wasn't that the little rumor?
Yes, it was. No. Cleveland made a big offer.
No. We don't want to send our boy anywhere. He's our chosen one.
Homegrown.
Trust John Lynch. And John, you know, you don't want to get on Bill Belichick's bad side. He trusts in me, and I just, you know, no. That they've got to do right by Jimmy. Jimmy is kind of football royalty. He's I don't know why, because he was in the same quarterback room as anyway.
Yes, he shared coffee with the GOAT.
And they're not, you know how the 49ers, the Warriors were always very kind of scared of Kevin Durant. And even when he was on the way out, they were like, Kevin's the greatest. Kevin's the best player in the league. Like, you don't have to, maybe Curry's the best player, but they always bent over backwards. But Kevin is the greatest. I feel like Lynch does a little bit with that with Jimmy. Like, look.
Interesting, because they're starkly different players.
I respect you. Like, I don't want to have a bad reputation. Don Yee, look, I'm doing right by Jimmy. I'm doing right by Jimmy. All that kind of stuff. Like, man, you've given him $100 million. You've done right by Jimmy. You've done right by Jimmy.
Can't argue that.
We got that. Peter King. There's one more. Hold on.
7 NP paid to come in.
You're Kyle freaking Shanahan figured out. Yeah.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Figure out how to use the offensive weapon.
Wouldn't keeping Garoppolo as a backup next season be detrimental to Trey Lance's developing as a full-fledged starter? That's like breaking up, but your ex still living with you and your new girl.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Well said.
Yeah, I think it's kind of weird, but it's also kind of weird right now. It's like you haven't broken up just yet, but you got your next girlfriend downstairs being like, all right, when you feel like leaving the house, I'm going to start my next relationship. But whenever you feel like, until you leave, we can keep this going.
Yeah.
Because you're my girl.
I still got this girl, but we're
just
next,
know that,
right?
Yeah,
as soon as this is over,
we have no
next.
future. And the girl that is the future is right there, but you're the present. You're my girl for now.
And the relationship now is functional, but what we're seeing doesn't give us any confidence that the relationship with Trey is going to be functional, because we haven't really seen that Kyle can use him. We haven't seen that Kyle trusts him. We know he doesn't trust Jimmy Garoppolo, but we don't have any evidence that he trusts Trey. If he trusted Trey, wouldn't he be working him into these game plans?
I don't know. Let's see how many more games they lose with no run game and no Deebo Samuel. I'm curious. Look, man, I think Kyle, here's the way I look at it. I think Kyle wanted to replace Jimmy. That didn't go over so well.
Yes.
And then he was like, all right, okay. How about 2 quarterbacks? And that didn't go over so well. And now he's like, all right, well, have it your way. See what happens. I'm the only one that wants this in the organization. So let's see how far this goes until people see it my way. Okay, fine. That's fine. Okay, that's fine. I don't know. That's the way I see it. Because he can't fight the whole organization if they want this.
No, you can't.
He can't. Everyone knows Kyle's record without Jimmy Garoppolo. He's not Bill Belichick. He doesn't have carte blanche to do whatever the hell he wants. One of the good things he has going for him is that the team likes him, even though he's 6 or 7 games under 500. He's got to keep that going. And Jimmy, they like Jimmy too.
They love Jimmy.
I don't know how they feel about Trey. Maybe Trey smells bad. Maybe he has halitosis. Ryan says, how can Kyle truly trust Jimmy this last game? Ayuk and Sherfield were schemed wide open for TDs. Jimmy misread both. And, dude, he doesn't trust anyone, Kyle. He doesn't like any quarterback he's ever had. He's John Gruden 2.0. I'm sorry.
Trust issues.
He really thinks he should be the quarterback. Deep down inside, if you ask him, Kyle, do you think you should be the quarterback? He'd probably be like, I'm not going to say you're wrong.
And wide receiver.
Yeah. All right, this was a very long show. Rob, thank you.
Thank you. I'm pleased to now go live on my channel, which will be an abbreviated show, but this one was just too good.
In Lance's first year of the Niners, done him dirty, broken promises, practice squad, etc. What do you think?
Have they done him dirty? Absolutely. It's why I don't want him trotted out in front of the media.
That's your whole point. That's your whole point.
Yeah, I think they have done him dirty.
Will be nice. You know, it'll be cool. I'm with you. Okay. So here's what the Niners can do since they all created this.
Yes.
You put Trey Lance out there, but you have John Lynch sitting right next to him and Kyle Shanahan, the three of them. How about that? How about that? Because look, you have to comply with rules, but you have to also acknowledge that that's a tough situation for that kid that you created.
Very tough.
Sit there with him.
That to me creates an even worse storyline. Now you're putting him out there, but now you're saying he can't handle the questions by himself. No, the reality is you are supposed to answer these questions because you created this crap show that is currently going on. And when I say you, I mean John and Kyle. Unleash
Trey Lance, you can hand off 30 times as well and make it 11 on 11. Just saying, I think if all you can run the same plays, the same handoffs. But if with Trey Lance, I think you average more yards per carry because it's 11 on 11. Agree. Okay, that's the end of the show. Everyone go watch. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say I would start with fewer snaps than just turning the entire game over to him, but get him in there. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Raider game. Do the Raider. With the Raider game, they were literally switching off snaps just so they could hand off. I thought it was brilliant. I loved it. I loved it. It was my favorite. It was my favorite game plan of the year. It was preseason.
Yes.
Dust it off. No one's scouting that, Kyle. They would never see it coming. Cincinnati, I promise. I won't tell them. I'm going to walk down to Kyle Wright. I'm going to walk into their meetings and be like, guys, 2-quarterback system.
I've had some insights.
I had an epiphany. Thank you very, very much, everyone. I will be back tomorrow with the Cohn phone. It's a late game, so I'll be up early taking your questions.
Boom.
Boom.
Head over to my channel.